Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and each week I'm joined by some of my favorite husky, hairy, huggable homos to talk about films either current and classic. And it will be no different this week. We're in quarantine. You would think we wouldn't have new movies to talk about, but in fact, we do. Thank you to the magic of movie studios putting their films out early for rental or even purchase. We got a chance to catch up with a very controversial movie called The Hunt, which we're going to be reviewing on the show this week. We're also going to be talking about some movies that were in movie theaters when all of this craziness started and maybe you didn't get a chance to see, or even some films that were in theaters just before all this went down that left theaters that are now available early to see. So if you're still looking for fun stuff to watch during shelter in place, quarantine, lockdown, we got you covered here on the Movie Bears podcast. But before we jump into all of that, let me introduce you to those aforementioned husky, hairy, huggable homos that I love and adore. Jim Pugliafico is with us here in the studio.
I am here in our virtual isolated studios. We are not all together in a studio, but we're kind of all together in a virtual electronic magic box kind of studio. That through the magic of the internet, we're able to all get together with you, and I'm happy to be here. We get to talk about movies still, even though we're in social isolation or lockdown or quarantine, or what's the other word? Stay at home. I forget what it's called. Like stay indoors or whatever it's called now. Shelter in place. That's it. Will, you know that well because you guys are going through that, even though different locations are handling it differently. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I hope we have some friends and listeners come on tonight to talk about movies with us and give us their comments, whether they've seen this movie or not. We're going to get into it. I can't wait.
Indeed. And Jim already mentioned him by name, so let's formally introduce him. Will Lindis is here with us as well. Will, how are you?
Hey, Brad. Hey, Jim. I'm very glad to be with you tonight. Jim, as you mentioned, different places are going through all of these different processes at different paces. We're here under shelter in place where I live right now, which means that there aren't a lot of opportunities to get out and do a lot of things, nor should there be. But the fact that I can connect with the two of you and we can talk about movies and very specifically talk about an air quotes new release in theaters, air quotes movie. I mean, silver lining, bright side of the storm, that sort of thing. Like I'm looking for the positives, and being able to experience this and discuss the new release with you, even during these times, is a positive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's going to be more. There's always movies to watch, and whether it's a new release like this one, or that the studio allows us to go out and rent or buy, or whether it's, as Brad kicked off at the beginning of the show, maybe a classic movie that we go back and rewatch. I'm just glad to be able to, in these difficult times, to still get together the way we do. I know. We have friends who also do podcasts and stuff that aren't able, because they do, a lot of podcasts that I listen to, they have all their hosts typically when they record sitting in the same room or studio to record the show. And unfortunately, they're not able to do that now because it's, obviously we have to stay separated, and that's a bummer. But, through the hard work that mostly Will and Brad do to get this show.
You, come on, let's be fair.
Well,
it's a team effort, Jim.
Yeah, it's a team effort to get this thing, to make this thing work through, these electronic virtual means is pretty awesome. We can sit in the same virtual room, see each other, hear each other, make faces at each other, and also get comments from you, which I hope we get tonight.
Yeah, in fact, we received several comments after our comfort movies episode last week, just saying that it was so great, with everything being all topsy turvy right now, to still have the Movie Bears podcast happening every week like normal, and still be able to tune in and enjoy the show. And we love hearing that people do. I completely understand, having a little corner of normalcy that you can kind of latch onto, hang on to, is a really good thing. So we are super stoked. There's already a bunch of people on with us watching and in the live chat. Hey, Hamstract, saw your note in the chat. Welcome. Hello. As we are broadcasting live, if you are with us on the live stream, feel free to say hi in the chat, share your thoughts on some of the things we're going to be talking about on the episode this week. And if you're watching or listening through the magic of digital tape delay on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, we'd love to hear from you too. So that's you as well, not you too. I'm hoping not to get an email from Bono.
Wait, hold on.
Well, I would not turn away an email from
Bono or The Edge. If any of them are just like,
Larry,
hey,
the drummer.
We're kind of chilling here and doing our quarantine thing. We just watched, I don't know, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I just really want to get on and talk about it with someone. What do you guys want to do? We'd be like, that is a really fucking weird choice, Bono, but come on down. we got a room for you next Tuesday.
All right, listen. If Bono does decide he wants to do our show, I guess that would make it a beautiful day for you guys.
It would. And I would love to hear his commentary on The Hunt as well. That would be pretty amazing, probably.
It would be nice to be able to live stream him to YouTube.
Oh, but Jim, if you're wanting him to comment on The Hunt, I think that's going to be problematic because, it's been out for a while and no word from Bono. So I guess you still haven't found what you're looking for.
You know what? There was a long climb to the top of the mountain, but I'm glad we planted the flag there.
All right, we got a lot to talk about. We could make YouTube puns and references the whole episode, but we won't because there is a lot more on the docket. We're going to be getting to our review of The Hunt here in just a little bit. We'll do both a spoiler-free section about that movie in case you haven't seen it yet. Maybe you're looking for an external opinion on whether or not that might be worth your $19.99. But before we get to that, let's talk about some other films that were either in theaters right before COVID shut all the movie theaters down here in the United States and abroad, as well as some films that were in theaters, maybe left theaters just before all that happened. I've compiled a list. I'm just going to kind of go down the list, Jim, Will, and if there's any of these that are particularly interesting, we can spend just a little bit of time chatting about them. But we have broken this list down into not one, but two sections. One is movies that are available to rent right now, and then the other is movies that are available to purchase. And we'll just go through them. So to rent, we've got Emma. And by the way, all of these movies are available for $19.99 USD. Emma, we've got The Hunt, which of course we're going to be talking about on the show. The Invisible Man, which we saw and reviewed, I think, the week before all of this kind of happened, right? Yeah. And then we've got Just Mercy, which actually came into theaters around Christmas time, I think, but kind of had a prolonged exposure there. And I know it was in dollar theaters too. Any of those, aside from The Hunt, which we'll talk about, but Emma, Invisible Man, Just Mercy, any of those that you guys would recommend maybe people check out if you've seen them or heard about them?
I've got I had a chance to do a press screening for Emma earlier in the year, and I currently have that one as probably in my top 3. We're early in the year, and that top list is going to be probably locked in place for a little bit now because of all this stuff. But for a period piece, which don't always float my boat, Emma is ridiculously. It is a razor sharp, remarkably funny, remarkably well done film. And if you're a fan of Anya Taylor-Joy, I'm a fan of Anya Taylor-Joy. She is just so freaking good in this.
Yeah, Emma's one. Have not seen it. but it is one that I would like to catch up with during this time while we can. Would have probably gone to see it and in theaters had they been open. Love Anya Taylor-Joy. I think we all do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm fine with period pieces and yeah, this one's interesting. I just noticed on IMDb the name of the movie has a period in it. It's Emma period. Like
That's
it's
a period
in the title.
film.
Yeah. Because it's a period film. Get it? It's good. It's all about the punctuation. But yeah, that one and Just Mercy is another one that I would have probably wanted on to see before all this went down. So yeah, all these rental movies. We've already seen The Invisible Man and The Hunt. So yeah, I'm down to watch these. I just haven't seen either Emma or Just Mercy yet.
Yeah. And in case you haven't already listened to our Invisible Man review, I'll just give that one a quick plug. It's kind of schlocky. It's not the best movie in the world, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It was fun. If you're looking for a suspense thriller film, and you like Elizabeth Moss, being Elizabeth Moss and every Elizabeth Moss thing, you can't go wrong with The Invisible Man. So maybe worth your $19.99. And some people might balk, by the way, at this $19.99 price tag, right, for renting a movie. But one thing to think about, if you were going to the theaters and you're going with another person, or even just going by yourself, you're going to spend more than $20 to see a movie, right, in this day and age.
Easily. No shade against AMC, Cinemark, Regal, any of like the big chains, but I cannot go there with another person and not spend less than $50 total. But and that's by the time you buy your tickets and like, let's just get let's do their popcorn and soda combo. Cool. That'll be $100 or your left kidney, whichever comes first. So yeah, I mean, it's expensive when you compare it to like we're used to Netflix free, or we're used to like, maybe I'll pay $3.99 for a release, but we're not doing it the week that things are happening theatrically. This is a very special kind of thing that we're able to get, and so I'm glad that we have these opportunities regardless.
Yeah, and I think what's going to happen, I mean, movies like The Invisible Man, I would think people there might be enough buzz out there and enough attraction for casual moviegoers to pick that one up. The Hunt has a reputation, obviously. That one might get some people to snag it for the $20 rental fee. Emma and Just Mercy, I think you kind of have to be more in tune with film and wanting to see more films to maybe get that. I think they're kind of maybe second level, even though, Will, you say that Emma's really great, and I have no doubt that it is, and I want to see it. I just don't know if it has the attraction of the casual moviegoer to get that one.
As the most casual moviegoer of the three of us, let me just say this. If theaters were open right now and Jim, you were like, hey, babe, what do you think about going to see Emma? I'd be like, I think I want to play Animal Crossing with my friends, but you should go see that. And I hope you enjoy it.
And then
Jim
would come back. Jim would come back and say, you know what, Brad, he would come back and I guarantee he would come back and he would talk you into going and seeing it.
I've stopped doing that. I've stopped doing it.
But this is what I'm trying to say. With the current state of things, not being able to just go to a movie theater and see new movies, I'm kind of like, even though I wouldn't normally be interested in Emma, I'm kind of like, you know what? I would do an Emma movie night. Let's do it. I want to see new movies. Let's make it happen. So, babe, if you want to see Emma, I am benevolently agreeing to watch a period piece with you. At least it's not subtitled. I don't know if there's lots of smoking in it, but I mean, it sounds like it's kind of in your wheelhouse. So
it is. Did you like Clueless? I know this is a weird pick, but did you like Clueless back in the 90s? Okay,
I didn't.
You may not like this because Clueless is actually a remake of Emma.
Ah, all right. Well, don't say any more. You might talk me out of it. But Jim, if you want to see it, I'm on board.
I don't remember seeing Clueless. Did I? Was that Reese Witherspoon? No.
That's Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah.
The Amy Heckerling film.
Right.
I got it.
Hamstart in the chat, in response to me saying that The Invisible Man wasn't the greatest movie in the world, says, well, what is the best movie in the world? Guys, this is a hot take. No explanation. Will, what's the best movie in the world?
Either The Shining or 2001: A Space Odyssey, but it's definitely something by Kubrick.
All right, Jim, best
Alien.
movie in the whole world.
Alien popped right into my head. Alien,
There you
the
go.
one. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Best movie in the world for me, The Neverending Story.
At
this moment.
The Princess Bride.
So
I always go with The Princess Bride, but like The Neverending Story popped into my head in this moment. I said, hot take. There you go.
do you think that what's the best movie in the world? Defend your take could be a good future quarantine topic for us.
I think it could be, but like I'd want to hear from listeners though. Like I'd want a list of best movies in the world that we could like dissect and talk through.
I think there's a topic there. There's a topic there.
Yeah. The problem with me though, if you ask me like 15 minutes later, it'll be like a different movie.
I'm setting my timer.
Hamstrak says, good choices. Glad you approve, Hammy. All right, so let's move real quick. We talked about the movies that are available for rental right now. There are some films that have become available to purchase digitally much earlier than they would have otherwise been released. We've got The Way Back. And again, all of these are available for $19.98. We have The Way Back with Ben Affleck, which we saw as our last movie before the quarantine began.
Yeah.
Jim and I saw that one. The Gentleman, Bloodshot, the new Vin Diesel superhero movie.
Mm-hmm.
Birds of Prey. Well, actually, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. Or is it Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn, and the Emancipation of the Joker? I don't even know anymore what that movie's title is.
It's something just pick some of those words out of a hat and you got your title.
And then Disney has released Onward for available for digital purchase. And we actually had a friend that had never seen that before, just at the beginning of all this mess. And we got to watch it with him. And he didn't think he wanted to see it based on the trailer. And he ended up crying at the same parts we did. So he really enjoyed that movie quite a bit. And Jim, I know you're not typically a rewatcher, but did you have fun watching it again? Thanks to Disney.
I did. I enjoyed watching it a second time. It's funny with me, like movies that have, most movies have their biggest impact on me on first watch. Second watch, obviously, you know what's coming. You can kind of steel yourself. You may not be totally as much kind of along for the ride, I guess. Or now knowing what's around that corner, so surprises are out of the way. So yeah, I would say I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. It's a really fun movie, and for those of you who haven't listened to our review of that from a couple weeks ago, or is it? Yeah, a couple weeks ago,
something like that. Yeah.
Check that out. But we all love that movie.
And what's really cool is, all in all, Brad, we've got a list here of, I think I'm counting 9 films. Mm-hmm. And between our written and video and audio coverage, if you want to find out about any of these films, we've covered more than half of them after tonight.
That's true.
So you've got your options. Go through the MBP archives and say, should I rent this? Should I buy this? We got the goods for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, out of because we saw Onward, we saw Birds of Prey, Jim and myself saw The Way Back, but out of The Way Back, Will, The Gentleman, Bloodshot, any of those particularly interest you in checking out?
No, I mean, so none of those 3 like really jumped off the thing for me. The Gentleman trailer did not really do much for me. Bloodshot maybe at best was a there's something about sort of like dumb Vin Diesel action films that I can sometimes be down with if I'm in the right mood. But I don't know if $19.99 is the price point for me on that. And then The Way Back, I don't know. You guys can tell me on this one. This one looked like an absolute stinker for me from the trailers. And a lot of the feedback that I got was like, it's very on the nose, but it's actually, it's at least a sincere version of what it's going for. And it's better than the trailers make it out to be. That's what I've heard. Would you guys agree?
So point counterpoint. Jim can be the counterpoint probably. I would agree with that. I actually really liked this movie, and I felt like, first of all, take my hairy chest bias out of it because Ben Affleck shaved for this movie, so the hairy chest factor is not driving my opinion.
Even though there are like 3 shower scenes, they're all the same shot. That show us nothing.
Smooth chested. So that actually works to the movie's detriment in my mind. Yeah, if you've seen like Tortured Person Comes to Coach a Team movies, you're probably going to get 50% of what you expect. But I think this movie went in some directions I did not expect, and I really appreciated that. And the heavy emotional beats really worked for me. I loved seeing Ben Affleck kind of exercise some of his acting chops. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. Whether it's worth $20 to own, I think $20 is an ask for a movie that like people don't know if they want to own it yet, right? Like sometimes for me, if I see a movie that I love and I know it's $20, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll buy that. But I don't know if I would buy it for 20. I might say wait for rental if you're on the fence, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much as Brad did. I did appreciate Ben Affleck's performance. I've always liked Ben Affleck in most of his performances. I just don't know if he's picking the right roles at this point. This one I think was a kind of a labor of love for him because I think it kind of echoed his own personal life a little bit. But we've seen this before so many times, as Brad mentioned. It's the broken person who has a lot of bad stuff. Life has beat him down, and he inherits this team of ragtag basketball players who, quote, haven't won a game, and before you know it, they're on a winning streak, and blah 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 blah. And then I don't want to give the whole movie away, but you can almost write it out.
But it goes in some different directions than like the expectation sets up for you.
A little bit. I
would hope so. The my fear from it by watching the trailer was that it was played so. The trailer came across so straightforward and almost to the point that it felt like a parody. Like I was waiting for a record scratch and something weird to veer off on it in the trailer. And when it didn't, it felt like an SNL sketch or something like that. So to hear that it does actually take different paths is actually, that's better than my fear.
I think we could talk a lot about it. I think the problem is, from a marketing perspective, how do you get people to see this movie? It's hard to talk about without you having seen it and knowing what happens. But like, I think if they marketed the movie for what it is, a lot of casual, like happy-go-lucky sports people probably would not go to see this movie. So,
Brad, I will do the way back if you do Emma.
Challenge.
Deal. All right.
Deal.
All
but
right.
I'm not. But with a caveat, I am not saying The Way Back is like in my top 5 movies of the year or anything. So I don't want to overset your expectation. I'm just saying it's worth a watch.
Yeah,
that's
and for people who want to watch, like sports folks who wants, I don't think there's enough sports in this movie. I mean, it kind of centers around a basketball team, and there's some sports scenes in it, but I think they could have maybe leaned on that maybe a little bit more, and it might have been a better movie, actually. So if you're afraid it's going to be like all sports and I'm going to be bored to death because I don't like sports, don't count those chickens, because it's not as sporty as you think it might be.
Which is, I think, why I liked it more than I thought I would, because sports movies are not my thing. Anyway, maybe we're going to have
Titans.
Well, I do love Remember the Titans, but that has a whole like racial component that this doesn't have, and whatever. We could have like a whole show about that. Here's what I think we should do. It sounds like we're going to have an Emma / The Way Back double feature coming up at some point. So
I like it.
Maybe keep your peepers peeled for that. But we do have a movie to talk about this week. one of the films on this list of movies in theaters that are now available for streaming is The Hunt, which has garnered a lot of controversy. In fact, the release of this movie was pushed back. There was issues there. There was concern, should this movie be released or not? Obviously, those concerns were overcome to the point that like the movie was released because we got to see it. So we're going to go ahead and talk about The Hunt here in just a moment. Will, thank you so much for letting folks know in the live chat that the spoiler-free section for The Hunt is about to start up. If you're a new listener to our show, you may be a little unfamiliar. We like to talk about movies for 15 minutes or so without spoiling. We just kind of give our general opinions, whether we liked it. But that said, we kind of believe you should always form your own opinion. But if something we talk about, maybe helps you in some way, I mean, we're all about that. But we'll give you fair warning before we take things to Spoiler Pound Town. So don't worry. We'll give you that heads up. Jim's rolling his eyes. We have live video now, so you can see him roll his eyes at me every single time.
Not at you, at spoilers for this movie. That's what I'm rolling.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure.
I'll put a blanket and pillow on the couch for you later, and you can tell it.
We'll talk about it in spoilers.
All right, here we go, everybody. Thus begins our discussion of The Hunt. All right. So before we get into our bread and butter discussion of The Hunt, I just kind of wanted to ask, Will, what was your experience like watching this movie that was meant to be in theaters right now, watching it at home? Was it different from you since you could like have your phone, get up and go to the bathroom? How was the experience?
I really started to feel while I was watching this, like in my living room. I've got a good TV screen. I've got good projection. I've got all the things that you need, but I was really starting to feel just like the absence of the theatrical experience. Like for me, I work from home. I do all of my I hang out with my friends and talk movies from home. There's so many things that happen from home. So the movies are sort of my weekly pilgrimage, my religious experience to get out of the house and interact with the world. And I think that it was nice to be able to get a glimpse of the new and to experience like a little bit of like some of that normalcy that feels very absent from the world right now. But it also did remind me of some of the things that we're missing.
Well, our experience was also at home, but I don't know if anybody saw the post, but Brad went to extraordinary lengths to try to make our home movie experience as much like the movie theater as possible. We even made popcorn put it in little movie theater popcorn buckets. Brad printed out two what's the word I'm looking for? Like replica tickets for the movie, for The Hunt with assigned seats, because we have 2 seats in our movie room. So I got my assigned seat. We opened the door. It had like a movie theater sign on the door. It was awesome. Brad even put together he edited together a string of movie trailers, current movie trailers, and like a movie theater like concessions ad to play before the movie started. So it was like just like the movie theater experience, because I'm one of the guys who actually kind of enjoys watching trailers at the movie theater, because sometimes because you're going to see something you may not have seen before. But it was incredible. It was awesome.
Oh.
And I don't expect you to do that every time, but it would be awesome if you did.
Make the best of a bad situation. Although next time what you should do, just to sort of like really mix it up, is about halfway through you need to have a pre-recording of like some teenagers talking, just playing. So you
Turn
can
around and be like,
them
"Shut up
and then
back
drive back
there."
in. Yeah, just to get to get the full 360 experience.
Oh.
Put it on your phone and put it on the seat behind you. You know what I mean? And have it like shine a light every once in a while, like
Oh man,
to distract you. That would be great.
That's funny. In the chat, Hamstrack says he saw the post on Facebook and Says it was the most adorable thing he's ever seen. Well, Hamstrack, I'm glad you feel that way, and babe, I'm glad that you enjoyed it so much. I actually had a lot of fun putting that together. I even included the pre-movie M&M's commercial where the guy like slides the M&M in an envelope. He's like, "Here's your mission," and the M&M's like, "No, this is an envelope." And it even though I put it together, it made me feel like we were at the movies together, babe. So that was really fun. Although I will say, I was not able to resist picking up my phone several times while we were watching the movie.
And he got yelled at by me as I would yell at somebody in the movie, like not yelled at, but like, excuse me, could you put that away or step out?
And the funny part is I felt shame, and I felt like I was in a movie theater getting called out for having my phone out.
You knew I was joking, but you also knew there was a grain of truth in there. Always a grain of truth.
Did you go get an usher?
No, he didn't.
I didn't have to play Karen. I didn't.
I turned my screen brightness all the way down. It was fine.
Besides, oh my God.
I'm not one to normally pull my phone out in a movie theater. In fact, I'm the one that normally shushes other people. So,
for using your phone in the Magnited States of America. That's the free trailer I played.
But the cats were more disruptive during the movie, I think, than my phone was, babe. They kept coming up and wanting attention.
That's true.
Hamstrack wants to know, are we going to release the pre-movie stuff on our YouTube page? I hadn't thought of that. I don't know if that would get us in trouble. I mean, they're just movie trailers.
Well, so there's also the commercial for Cinemark.
I don't know.
I bet you if you splice them together with the disclaimer of it being like, this is I think you could probably get away with it, but we can look at it.
We'll think about it. We'll think about it. Good question, Hammy. But it sounds like, Will, even for you, the not being in a movie theater kind of changed the experience a little bit for you. It was a little different for us too, but the cool thing is we still got to see it. We still get to talk about it. So, Will, do us a favor, if you don't mind. Tell us a little bit about just your initial thoughts on The Hunt. Kind of give us a little. Well, actually, Jim, why don't you give us the setup for this, and then we'll get into some initial thoughts.
Sure, absolutely.
Tell us more.
Okay, so The Hunt. Let me give the IMDb movie synopsis, which is not really spoilery. It says 12 strangers wake up in a clearing. They don't know where they are or how they got there. They don't know that they've been chosen for a very specific purpose, the hunt. So this is a movie. I'm going to back up a little bit. And this is a movie that was scheduled to be released back in September of last year. But then we had kind of a couple of mass shootings had occurred in late August. The one in El Paso, and there's one in Dayton, right? Dayton, Ohio, that happened. And because this movie does feature a lot of violence, and we'll get into what that entails and what kind of violence, and it also has, or let's say this, it tries to put some kind of political messages, I guess, or themes or tones in this movie. The studio thought it best to not release this right on top of mass shootings. But without getting into too much politics, I think probably delaying this movie was probably a good idea. Although now after seeing the movie, I'm like, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. It was really strange. This movie really was, but I wish this movie was as strong as I thought it was going to be. This is kind of a movie where you have a group of people kind of hunting another group of people for sport, and I'm going to be careful to try not to give away spoilers, and I think this was in the trailer, but one group of people are the quote unquote liberal elites. These are the hunters in this movie, and they're hunting a group of what are called, I think in the movie they're called deplorables. in the movie, amongst others, or just the plain folk that this movie portrays these people as. I had big problems with this movie playing off of those political ideas, because I don't think it did anything with it. I don't think, to me, its message was totally unclear whether this movie really wanted to make a political message, like, how we're divided in this country and how the two sides need to come together in some way. I don't think the movie was really interested in that, at least for me. Here's what I will say I liked about the movie first, and then we're going to get into other stuff. I did like Betty Gilpin in the lead role. I thought she was pretty good as kind of the lead badass heroine of the hunted people. Hilary Swank was also in this. I love Hilary Swank. I just don't think this was a good role for her, a good fit. She's always good in everything she does, but to have her be this kind of character and I just don't think that the casting was really great for that. What I didn't like about this movie is, I already mentioned it. I thought its tone was all over the place. Sometimes dark comedy. Sometimes it wanted to be social commentary. I don't think putting it all in the mix and its messaging, I just don't think it all came together for me. This is a movie that I think a lot of people will enjoy just because it has cool kills in it. I mean, it's got some cool little scenes of gun violence. I'm not a big fan of just like gun violence in movies, period. And this movie has it all over the place without any message at all about that. And that really kind of bothers me. And halfway through the movie, I turned to Brad and I'm like, what the fuck is even this movie trying to be? What does it want to be? So I say, for me, this is a skip. I'm not going to recommend it in any way, shape, or form. The only thing I could say is, if you love violence in movies that's not really attached to anything, then you might like this movie. It has cool gun shooting and cool fighting, I guess, but without any real stakes. So there you go.
Are you saying nobody was killed by stakes?
There were people killed by stakes. That was a whole nother thing. Can't get into spoilers here.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, sounds like not a great experience for you. We're hearing from somebody in the live chat. We had his counterpart on the show in the chat last week. Bill Harris from Green Screen of Death podcast is here with us. Hey, Bill. Always a pleasure to see you. He says, stuck at work. You guys are getting me through my shift. Thanks for sharing your shift with us, Bill. Glad we could help. He says, seems I'm one of the weird ones. He got to see The Hunt in theaters one day before they shut down. He felt bad for the employees. He's like, I'm a movie weirdo. I have to see stuff. I'm sad that you're here and not at work.
Yeah.
But he said he saw this movie alone. He was the only one in the theater for this film. Whether that's because of the controversy with the film or, a global pandemic, hard to say. But Bill, cool that you got to see it in theaters at least. I'm a little jealous. I won't lie.
Yeah, I mean, we our last movie. I tweeted about it today. I tweeted, like, I hope we can get to that glorious day when we can all go back to the movie theaters, because I would hate to have to live the rest of my life knowing that The Way Back was the last movie I saw in movie theaters.
Oh, goodness. And I'd hate to live with the fact that it was my fault because Jim gave me a choice.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what do you want to see? And I'm like, well, I kind of want to see The Way Back because I was really sick. I didn't feel well. Like, not COVID stuff.
So that's cool.
But I was looking for, like, a feel-good movie with some emotional weight. So, yeah, I don't want to hear about that for the rest of my life. So, yes, please, theaters, let's open back up.
It's a bummer, too, because, like, I had a weekend of movies lined up. I actually had The Way Back. I had The Hunt, and I had Never, Rarely, Maybe, Always. I forget the order of it. But I had tickets to all three of those. And I kept watching The Hunt. It was the first one in queue, and I was the only person in the theater. Okay, maybe I'll go. I don't know. And then I started seeing other people showing up on the app, and I just couldn't. So I ended up canceling all of them.
Aww.
Broke my heart to do so, but it was as things were ramping up, and just as I started seeing a couple more dots show up on the little like seating app, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all we can do is try and focus on the positive and put things in for Onward. And Will, I know you didn't get to see it in theaters, but tell us a little bit about your thoughts on The Hunt.
Yeah, so this is one I'd actually been looking forward to for some time. This movie is, on paper, could be the type of film that would catch my attention. I like these thriller type action, these thriller horror adjacent type films. I was interested when in September, part of the reason it was actually pulled was just, Jim, to kind of piggyback on what you were saying before. This film got some very negative presidential attention. And once the president started tweeting about how this movie was made specifically to inflame and cause chaos, the publishers decided, we're going to pull it back. So it was like this is one of the, I can't think of many situations where a presidential tweet has caused a movie to change its timetable. But here we are. And then, of course, March, let's do it again. And then, COVID-19. And so this is like a cursed film. Look, Jim, I don't think I'm not going to stray too far from what you said on a lot of things here. I think that if you look at just the kind of the violence itself, the kind of the way that it flows through, and you kind of take all of the story elements out of the story, which, bear with me on this. If you take those things out, I think there are some compelling things in here. We've seen this type of setup before, maybe in something like the Hunger Games or something like that, a bunch of people having to like survive a scenario type thing. We've seen this style of
Ready
kind
or
of
Not
like
is another one.
we've seen this type of like action murdery stuff happening in things like the Belko Experiment. The problem that we have here is that this is probably the most weirdly apolitical political movie that I've probably ever seen, in that this movie drapes itself in politics and makes sure that every single character is a caricature of something related to something on the political spectrum. But at the end of the day, it feels so focused on kind of both sidesism that it never ends up really getting a stance of itself. You can make an argument that part of the stance is there is a cultural divide between the right and the left, and it's becoming a battleground, and hey, let's see that play out literally as these characters try to kill each other. There's something there, but it's so weirdly poorly fleshed out that it ended up becoming a real albatross for this movie. When there are some fun, surprising, interesting moments in here that, when looked at outside of that lens, are compelling in and of themselves. I was ultimately fairly disappointed in this film. I didn't hate it. I had a good time with parts of it. I think Betty Gilpin. So. We've been talking about this a little bit in chat, but the lead in this, Betty Gilpin, you see her in the trailer. She's in the show art. She's in a lot of things, but she's one of the lead actresses in Netflix's Glow, and she's absolutely amazing in that. When I had just finished binging whatever the latest season of Glow was when I first saw the trailers for The Hunt, so I was on board immediately because I'm a Betty Gilpin stan right now, and I still am. I think that if there's one like bright side in this, I think she was absolutely compelling in this. And this is one of those like kind of air quotes, like star making role type things. Like, this is a good example of someone outclassing the material. And I think she very much outclassed the material here. Yeah, I don't know. Hard to recommend. I think that pickings are slim. You're going to want something new. Might as well watch this. But at the same time, I would temper expectations because I wish I had.
Yeah, I guess my expectations were, hey, this movie could be a little bit of fun. Maybe there's a message in here somewhere, some kind of unifying message. Uh, I didn't see that. I saw the two sides, and and the two sides were drawn so poorly. Like I didn't. I mean, it's the whole scene at the beginning with the on the airplane. I'm not going to give too much away, but like what's happening there, and then it just kind of jumps in time. And all right, who's who, and um, did it? It didn't make any sense as to why one side was hunting the other. At least to me, I didn't see how in what world that would be even possible or allowed, and within the movie, like what world was it setting up, what was real, what was fake. The lines were so blurred that I just think it's a muddled mess.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into my whole spiel because I think we kind of have said it all already. So we can just open the gates on discussion. But wasn't a big win for me for all the reasons that you guys mentioned. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we go into spoilers?
I was Ike Barinholtz, who I typically like in comedies. I think he was in the Neighbors movies, or I forget what he was in, but I like him in comedy. And so you have him in this movie, and I'm like, is he playing a serious role, or is he in a comedy role? And then I thought he was going to be maybe like one of the main characters, but nope. Like it's just very weird the way this movie plays out, and that might be my.
I think we want to be really careful.
We might be in segue territory now.
I think we're just going to go ahead and make the jump to spoilers at this point. Apologies, folks, if we let any cats out of the bag. But spoilers are officially fair game for The Hunt after the fact. If you haven't seen it yet and you value your innocence where the plot is concerned, now is your time to step away and maybe see the film, come back, listen to the rest of the review. But spoilers are indeed a go. You've gotten your warning. If you're still listening, that is purely your fault. Jim, do you want to expand on what you were talking about before with expecting him to be a main character but not?
Yeah, it's like they have one of the bigger stars, arguably, in this movie for like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe during a couple of scenes. So that was really weird. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe something's going to happen later in the movie. And sure enough, we talked about Hilary Swank, whose character really isn't revealed until about halfway through the movie or something like that, where her character is revealed. And then the movie's just all over the place with these characters. And then at the end, somehow they turn Hilary Swank into like this. All of a sudden, she's this badass, like martial arts, like I don't know, martial arts expert and weapons expert. And she's
been training for 8 months, Jim.
Okay, that might have been a line I missed. But like
it was a line, but it was, you can tell it was one of those like added after the fact script, like lines of the script.
Yeah. So the whole movie came down to basically the Hilary Swank character, who was on the side of the elite liberals, I guess, squaring off with the Betty Gilpin character in a battle royale showdown that seemed to last maybe 20 minutes too long in the movie. Yeah, I wish this movie was better, but and I know people are, like I said, I think there's people out there who are going to like it just because of the cool violence, that's in it. And I guess that's okay for them.
I think it struggles a little bit with the type of story that it's telling, for sort of two major reasons. One, we set up this story about these are our right-wing people, kind of salt of the earth types who are being hunted by these liberal elites. in their mansions and all that, which is already very loaded and kind of a little disgusting, kind of in the wake of like real life accusations that happened kind of in the wake of like the Pizzagate stuff. But like, I get that they were leaning into it. So cool, whatever. They try to subvert that later on by showing us that the salt of the earth right-wing guys were actually kind of like shitty conspiracy theorists, which is sort of supposed to show us that everyone is at blame. Everyone's kind of shitty. We're not really supposed to root for anyone except for maybe the Betty Gilpin character, who is probably the only nuanced sort of like middle ground character in all of that. You can sort of pull that stuff apart and kind of find a story in there. But I really had a problem with like the way that the story unfolded. Like, we had all of these scenes in the first half where we kept getting these shots of the Hilary Swank character, Athena, where maybe she's like, you kind of see from like a back angle. So you see from behind her head, or you see like a shot where it looks like she's overlooking everyone. They're doing specific film techniques that are used to like hide identity. And when you do that, it's because the reveal of the identity has to mean something. It has to be impactful to the audience, or it has to be impactful to the characters viewing it. There's the reason you hide something is so that you can later reveal something. So later on, halfway in the movie, when you finally get the reveal on her face, it's just in the middle of a flashback scene where that reveal carries no weight whatsoever. I don't get what they were going for there. And that in and of itself isn't a problem, but I think that it's representative of the fact that the film, and specifically the script for the film, had a lot of these moments that I think it thought were more impactful or would hit audiences in a way that it just absolutely didn't. Like, did that strike you guys as odd as well? That sort of like the withholding the Hilary Swank reveal?
Yeah, it was very odd because I think she's in the trailer. I think I saw her in the trailer. So I'm not sure what that whole like, oh my God, it's Hilary Swank. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's Hilary Swank. What's going to happen? And then they just turned her into just a caricature of not even a real character, just somebody to be there at the end for Betty Gilpin to face off against. The thing that like I think I really just turned me on this movie was when they're trying to escape and they're in a box car. They get on a train, and there's a family in there that look like they're a family of immigrants or refugees or something. And the one guy is like, they're all freaking what did he say? Crisis actors. They're all crisis actors. None of them are real. It's all bullshit. And you're like, I don't know. Are they? And then sure enough, later on in the movie, oh yeah, one of them really is a crisis actor and he's there. But like, I don't know if they were all, it was just so weird. It's like, I don't know, were they all crisis actors or just some of them? What about the soldiers that were there? Did they ever say that if those were real soldiers or not real soldiers? Were they really somewhere in the Eastern Bloc country? Maybe. Did they ever reveal where the setting was?
They did. We found out Gilpin figured out that they were in Croatia, that they were actually in Croatia, and that only the one guy was like a fake crisis actor. The other, he had embedded himself in with that group of actual refugees. Which is weird, like that he would get them in there politics. And be on that exact train at that. But whatever, take all that aside. But like, the film, I mean, it planted, it used its little extraneous dialogue scenes to set those things up. But I think the problem with it is they can explain it all day if it's like, if it's just like random dialogue at the end of a scene just to explain what we last saw, and it's stuff that we didn't necessarily care about, that's wasted time that could have gone towards more just like kick-ass action. In fact, that whole scene while they were explaining where they were and why they were and how they got there, like, felt like such an energy suck out of the film. Like, it felt like we were doing like a little side quest to just sort of like, I don't know, cut down on the violence or whatever for a little bit, when really I think you could have ramped, like, if you're going to lean into it there. You could have like had, instead of 12 people, had 20 people and used that time to whittle through more of them. I don't know. That whole sequence was such a suck for me. Brad, I have a feeling, and I could be wrong on this, but I have a feeling. Were you a My Name Is Earl fan back in the day? I feel like we may have talked about this on the show, but maybe not.
No.
I don't know. I'm segueing to ask if how you felt about Ethan Suplee.
How I felt what? I'm sorry?
About Ethan Suplee in that. That was the I think shut the fuck up Gary character that was with Betty on the train.
Yeah. I mean I don't know. That's a hard one for me because I guess it was fine. That's about the most positive thing I can say. The setup for that was just, it was so weird, and it was so like, I don't know. I felt like it was super obvious. So like, as it's happening, I'm just kind of like, wait, why? Like, what is the point of this? You know what I mean? I don't know. This movie bugged me in a lot of different ways, and that's just one of them. I don't know. I guess I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't really have a horse in that race. I mean, did you like him in that role?
Not particularly. I felt like it was. I didn't dislike him. And you know what? To be honest, if I'm looking back over this cast list right now, I don't know that I had a problem with any single one of these cast members. Like when I'm thinking about like the role that they were supposed to play and the way they performed that role. These weren't nuanced performances, but they weren't supposed to give nuanced performances. So right. I think they all played into the caricatures fine. So I find myself giving the actors sort of a pass here. Yeah. I don't know.
I thought of a more positive thing to say.
Go for it.
I liked his beard.
Yeah, I figured you would.
That was part of the setup. I was just like, Scott, maybe a beard.
Well,
maybe
he was probably the hottest guy in the movie.
I mean, yes, he was, but like, there's just so much, I guess, like around just nastiness, like around that character. And I'm one of those weird people where like you can be the hottest guy on the planet, you can fall right within that like list of check boxes that's like ding 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 ding, amazingly hot in Brad's book. But if you are an asshole, like all of those things just go away. So, you know, given what a complete shithole of a character and a person he seemed to be, you know what I mean? Like I think it just kind of washed that away. So sorry, your setup didn't quite, you know, trigger the reaction you maybe thought, but
it triggered a discussion about a character. So, I mean, there's something to be said there. I will say in the positive side, I enjoy a film that's willing to sort of mess with expectations. And I feel like there were parts of this film that wanted to do that. We have we have main character roulette through the first portion of this film. We're in spoilers. We can talk about this. Yeah. So Emma Roberts is all over the promotional materials for this. She's on the poster. She's very heavily focused in the trailers. And probably the amount of time that she's in the film itself is how long she's in the trailers. You know, like she is the first one to get mowed down in the first 5 minutes of the movie or less. Yeah. And then it turns over control to another main character. And this character then is the next one to die. And then it turns control of the narrative over to the Ike Barinholtz character as the third main character before finally the baton gets passed over to Betty Gilpin as sort of the fourth protagonist. I liked that. That was really cool. The problem is that is over in the first few minutes of the film, and then there's nowhere left to go. I think that you can do something very much like that and spread it out a little bit more, play with expectations, kill off some like characters that you think are going to be important. You can still have your badass Betty Gilpin character going through there, but give her more people who you feel like maybe have a protagonist chance in the story, and then have them whittled off at the halfway mark, at the 2/3 mark, something like that. And then that keeps me guessing. And if you keep me guessing, you've probably got my attention. I'm thinking back to, I don't know if anyone saw in 2005, this movie called Feast. like super low budget horror film. It was part of the Project Greenlight series, all kept set in one room. And not to spoil too much in that film, but it tries to accomplish what this movie does. And I think as far as that's concerned, I think it does a better job of it. So I know it can be done.
Yeah, and Bill mentioned it in here. I was going to bring it up. The dude from This Is Us. If you've seen any of This Is Us, the actor's name is Justin Hartley. He plays Kevin in This Is Us. Good actor, I think. He's in the movie like for the first 4 or 5 minutes too. You think he's going to save everyone, right? You think he's going to be one of the main characters because he's like, yeah, come with me. We're going to do this and that. Nope. Like 1 minute later, he steps on a mine and boom, he's gone. You get one of your cool kills, you know what I mean, from this movie. But it's just very weird. And then, like I said, all the characters, all of them, even the lead character, played by Betty Gilpin, very thinly drawn character. Because, first of all, for her character, she's supposed to be this enigma, this like mystery woman, right? She's not one of the what do you call it, despicables or whatever. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for?
Deplorables.
She's not one of the deplorables. Apparently, she's not one of the regular folk, but she's something else. And we find out at the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to care? Like that she's not one of these people, or she is one of these people? Just this movie just didn't know how to handle its characters. Didn't give us anybody to care about. And I think other than the fact that she's a badass survival fighter, you know, mowing her way through all these elites, I don't think we cared much about her. So I think that was the movie's main downfall for me.
All right. Well, seems like this wasn't a very big win for us. But how cool is it that at least we still got to see it, right? I think when all this stuff started going down, we're like, crap, there's all these movies we want to see. What's going to happen? Are we going to be able to do that? So at least we got to say we saw it. We could form our own opinions of it. Not the best movie in the world. Not even the best movie that we've seen this month, probably. But, you know, we get to be part of the conversation and kind of see what all the controversy was about. I think this movie has a very mixed message. I don't even think it knows what the message it's trying to communicate is. Definitely a lot of head scratching at the end of that, but you know, thanks Lindelof, appreciate that. But not even like good Lindelof head scratching, you know what I mean? But not super great, but I'm still glad we saw it.
Yeah, and not really the step I wanted to see a filmmaker who made remember Z for Zachariah, babe? We saw that. Same director, and a movie called Compliance, which I saw, which I kind of really liked.
Yeah.
Compliance
was a good little bottle episode kind of movie. A lot of kind of like a thriller and suspense. This one seemed like a misstep to me.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Indeed. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a close. Unless, Will, you have any final thoughts on The Hunt?
Nah. You know what? Go watch Feast. If you're looking for something, I think you probably get Feast for less than $19.99. So
there you go.
That's my closeout for The Hunt.
All right. Well, we've got some cool stuff coming at you in the next few weeks. We were talking earlier about maybe doing a double feature of Emma and The Way Back. That could be a thing. We're talking about doing a Grizz Tracks episode, maybe picking a movie from our comfort movies list and having a group chat or something while we watch. We also have Malcolm Ingram coming on the show to talk about his new documentary, Clerk, and we're very excited about that. We'll have some more information for you coming on that, up on that soon, but look to potentially have him joining us for next week's episode. We've got a lot of content coming your way, ladies, gentlemen, everybody. So if you're looking for something to do during the quarantine, you can still rely on us. Health and work schedule willing, we will be here doing a regular thing, either Tuesdays, or if something schedule wise pops up, we may punt to Thursday, but we'll let you know if that happens. Guys, between now and when next we record, let's talk about how people can find us and interact online if they want to talk movies or whatever. Jim, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, where I like to talk about movies, at JJP Out West. That's my initials, JJP, and the words Out West all smushed together. That's where that's my Twitter handle. And you can also find me on Facebook at Jim Pugliafico under my name, Jim Pugliafico.
All right, Will, how about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Whatever Cove. You can find me on Facebook. Just look for William Lindis. Look for me on Letterboxd as well, where I review and star rank all the movies that I watch. Just look for William Lindis there. Give me an ad, I'll follow you back.
All right. All good. Thanks so much, Will. Appreciate that. And you can find me on Facebook. Just look for Brad Harris. I'm the one with Bear Chub. Chase your friends in common with you, probably. Send me a message first, though, so I know that you're a real person. Also, as much as, dick pics can be fun, please send an actual message before the dick pics. That would be nice. Person to person, actual contact is always a good thing. And look for me on Twitter at iBradPro or on letterbox.com, also at iBradPro. Thank you to everyone who was hanging out with us in the live chat. Bill, Hamstracked, everybody was so good. Have you be part of the conversation this week. Folks, we will see you all next time. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep watching movies. Talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.